Can we get a call of the roll?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Members currently present include Anderson, Caroon, Coda, Hand, Leeser, Sobolik, and White.
Thank you. Are there any amendments to the agenda?
We have no amendments at this time.
Okay. We've got the minutes attached from the previous meeting. Like a motion to approve.
So moved, Deb White.
Second, Mike Leeser.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Citizens addressing the board. Do we have no one that's not on the agenda in another spot? Okay. Commissioners' reports. I think James has one from the MBA.
There we go. Yeah, excited today with us is our new Assistant Director, Alicia Nelson. She grew up in Moorhead, and if you can believe it, she shares the same level of enthusiasm as Sherry does for Moorhead businesses. So we're very excited to have her on board and a part of the team. So welcome, Alicia. We're only a week away from the Moorhead Proud 56560 and 4th of July celebration. Thousands from the community will be enjoying the spectacular views of the fireworks as they turn their knob to Bob 95 on the 4th of July. The two best places to watch the fireworks are at Horizon Middle School and the Moorhead High School Career Academy. The Moorhead Legacy Education Foundation and the Lotus Center will be hosting VIP parking lot parties for $10 a vehicle. The lots will open at 7:30 p.m. with food vendors, lawn games, and a car show at Horizon. The Moorhead Proud 56560 and 4th of July celebration would not be possible without our sponsors. Thank you, American Crystal Sugar, BNSF, Radio FM Media, Sanford Health, the Lotus Center, Inc., XL Energy, and the rest of our sponsors who make the event possible. Every Wednesday at noon, MBA shares their story. MBA members share their story at the Moorhead American Legion. Let's Talk Business. This week, Aaron Becker with the Forum of Fargo-Moorhead will be presenting. The Moorhead Alliance of Nonprofits meets the last Monday of each month. Join us tonight at Riverhaven Events Center at 4 p.m. where PACE Fundraising will be sharing their story. Also be sure to follow the Moorhead Alliance of Nonprofits Facebook page for updates. September 17th is our annual Bridge Bash event at Viking Ship Park. We look forward to welcoming the students from MSUM, M-State, Concordia, and NDSU. This event includes canoeing and kayaking, admission to the Yumcom Center, live music, a photo booth, a travel escape room, all for free thanks to our sponsors. Viking Ship Park will be filled with vendors, games, and food trucks, common theme at our events. Thank you, Johnson's Auto Repair and American Crystal Sugar for making the event possible. The weather's hot, but it's cool to be cold in Moorhead. We're planning for Frostival 23. On July 11th at noon, everyone's welcome to share your ideas for family-friendly and adult activities. In collaboration, and that's at, I deleted it here on my notes, but that's at Bulldog, correct? Boulder Tap, sorry. At Boulder Tap, July 11th at noon, if you want to share some ideas for activities. In collaboration with the Moorhead Parks and Rec and multiple Moorhead businesses, we held 24 events in Moorhead last year, and we're excited to continue our support of Frostival in 2023. Apparently, Olaf from the movie Frozen has heard about Frostival and is planning to make an appearance this year, so, you know, it's kind of a big deal. Thank you, and as always, we are Moorhead proud.
All right, thank you, James. Any other reports from commissioners? Nothing? Okay. Moving on, number 6, West Central Initiative.
Well, good morning. I think it is still morning, coming up on afternoon. Thank you for having me and for entering into the room with my West Central Initiative colleagues. I want to acknowledge Deb White, who's on our EDD board, and Jenna Cayley, who I just had to call out of the room to make sure I got her name right. So thank you for letting me disrupt your meeting. I'm Rebecca Peterson. I'm the Director of Development at West Central Initiative. And I want to thank you for your past partnership and support. and hopefully your continued support. I sent a letter along ahead of time, and I know that Amy Thorpe has shared it with you. But I'm here to share some other information with you today on behalf of my other colleagues. I spoke with Greg Wagner just before I came, and Greg said he's working with Derek on some Main Street revitalization grant that we received from DEED. So Greg and Jill are working on some of the details with Derek. We've also been busy recruiting new board members. So our current board of directors includes Yoksim Gunaratne, but we've just added another Clay County member from Barnesville, Eric Newell, whom some of you may know. I also want to draw attention to some of the work that we've been doing over the past 2 years with grants and loans in your community of Moorhead. It's been a very busy couple of years with COVID and the pandemic. And so I will leave this list with Amy, but we've made 30 grants, child care emergency grants in your community. We have also distributed community funds along with DEED COVID relief grants, numbering 39 COVID relief grants in your community, each of those at $10,000. We did 12 resiliency fund grants from our resiliency regranting program to help people with recovery from the pandemic. And we also did 36 DEED small business relief grants. So the total grant dollars over the last 2 years is $1,344,000 plus some change, and $280,000 in loans. And we work very closely with the revolving loan program that we host at West Central Initiative. Our early childhood people have been working with the Jasmine Child Care Center in some advisory capacity, and because we are a regional development organization, we're able to apply for federal funds. So they were just working on a Senate appropriations application, and it's gone through the first hurdle, but we don't know what's next, so working on that. I want to draw attention to some of the materials in your packet, specifically on the left-hand side. We're working with Pale Blue Dot on a climate action plan for our region. And one of my colleagues, Mark Kelke, has asked me to really hone in on this climate action plan survey. So we're looking for 400 survey results, and we're about a quarter of the way there. So hoping that people will fill out the survey. We did a spring convivium here in Moorhead, just over here at River Haven Event Center. Your Mayor Carlson was one of our presenters, and I know some people from this group were there. The folks from the Twin Cities were so impressed with what Moorhead is doing. Sven Sundgaard, who's a meteorologist, said, "You're light years ahead of the Twin Cities." So kudos to Moorhead and the great work you've been doing. Also, whoops, too many things on the podium here. We have been working with our early childhood folks. They've, in addition to all the work they've been doing with child care centers, they really wanted to publish a book to get kids and their families out exploring the region. I'm going to pass this around. Copies downstairs for their archives. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. Our annual report from last year is included. We're also working on a report about our history as a regional development organization that'll be published this next month in July, so I'll make sure to get copies to all of you around that report. But we continue to work throughout the region. Our really fun project right now is planting 2 apple trees in each of our 82 communities. And I wish my friend Rick Shera were here, because he came over for the tree planting in Moorhead. And I was texting him, where exactly did you plant those trees? So I'll get that information to you too, because Rick is in another meeting right now. But I'm open for questions or concerns or anything I can take back to my colleagues at West Central Initiative.
Hi, Deb.
Thanks. I just wanted to make a comment as our representative in the Economic Development Division, just how beneficial it's been to be part of those meetings. And I think, just in terms of the resources that you have, Rebecca, you talked a little bit about the information, the connections with DEED and the work that you're doing around early childhood education. And, we know that right now in particular, we have a real shortage, and it also has a big impact on our workforce shortage. And, just learning about the resources, better understanding the problems. I remember at one of the meetings, they provided a lot of research and data on West Central Minnesota, and one that jumped out to me, and I've said this to so many people, is they had data showing that the starting salary for a new early education teacher in West Central Minnesota was equivalent to what people were starting at Walmart and McDonald's, if I remember correctly, and that's with their degree in early education, early childhood education. And so I think as an elected official, it's, if we have that good information, it's beneficial. Learning about the resources, and also at these meetings, there's representatives from all of the other communities, and just being able to share ideas and look for better solutions and see places that we can work together. And so I just wanted to put that in there for my experiences, how beneficial it's been. Thanks.
Well, thank you for that, and thank you for your service.
Anyone else?
Mr. Chair, I'll just add a few things too, and for some of our new EDA members, the West Central Initiative is a really great partner to us. As Deb mentioned, the resources and the leverage and the partnership that they have with the state of Minnesota, especially as funds transfer through deed through these initiative foundations throughout the state, they really become the lifeline for processing these grants and these loans, and it's a heavy burden. I know that staff was working very tirelessly to process as much as they can. It was mentioned, and I do want to give a little bit of clarification on that Main Street Revitalization Grant. I know there's some folks in the community thinking that that would be a similar grant to the COVID grants that were before, that was open to any and all businesses. It's not in that same capacity. This is very specific to corridors across the territory. Ours is specifically Highway 10. And actually the corridor, I think, stretches all the way through Detroit Lake. So it's a large corridor that serves us, and then there's other corridors across the West Central Territory. But they're specifically for like redevelopment, not necessarily just for the traditional kind of COVID relief grants. So just want to provide that clarification to the public that's listening as well. But we thank the West Central for all their work and continued partnership.
Well, and thank you. You're great partners. So thanks for having us.
Thank you, Rebecca. We appreciate it. Number 7, experience marketing and placemaking call for activation update.
Yeah, I'll kind of get into this a little bit for our EDA members, some of our new EDA members as well. Part of the budget, we have a marketing line item, and you'll get into the budgets in the next couple of meetings here, but we have set aside some dollars for what we're calling experiential marketing or activations. We just went out live a couple months ago for this call for activation and placemaking. This was a partnership between the EDA. We specifically had Bobby Solene as a representative of the EDA serving on that subcommittee, as well as Allison Koster from the Arts and Culture Commission. We received 9 applications to that call for activation, some of them a little bit more robust than others, but we were excited to kind of see the excitement and energy of some of the folks that were submitting. So out of the 9 applications that were received, we did approve, that subcommittee did approve 4 of them, and that is outlined in your packet, but basically I'll summarize. In general, we have one that was a downtown mural, so that'll be done this summer, and all these were set to be done this year. Wanted that activation right away. We have another application that was for wildlife sculptures. Another one for a sculpture walk that was through kind of some enhancements to the Rourke Art Gallery. And then Mary's Light Tunnel, having that be put up and have a little bit more efficiencies with the electricity down in that area as well. So we're excited to have these projects continue and to kind of really showcase. In total, that took about $17,500 out of the $25,000 that we had put aside. And we look to kind of continue this this kind of movement in the future as we try to get the public engaged with our downtown core, as well as just providing some life and energy into our area as well. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
James.
Thank you. So Doug, I'm just curious, so the budgets associated with these projects, are they pretty well locked in? Or like, for example, when I look at the Mary's Light Tunnel at 2,500, I could see that, you know, you could probably spend 25,000 on that project and to enhance it. But so I'm just curious at what point, you know, those figures are locked in. If now the project's approved, they kind of re-explore and you know, figure out their firm budgets and or how that process works, I guess.
Yeah, so we had them submit a preliminary budget if they could provide one. A lot of them were, the amounts that were requested were funded. So we tried to kind of meet some of those expectations. Mary's Light Tunnel could go a lot of different ways as far as the permanency of it too. So at this point in time, that was just kind of the request that we had at hand, but there may be some other features that come about with it. We do have a little bit of funding left in there, but I think of the 3 or the 4 that were approved, I think we're pretty well under control. There might be a couple others that may come in for a more formal request, but all of these have a specific agreement. They have almost a professional services agreement that are associated with it. So we do have that, and it'd have to be amended just to kind of make sure we're getting the right things too. I don't know if Dan, you want to add something?
Don't mind, yeah, if I could add to that as well. So, and some of these, it appeared to me that they were layered. So, you know, the source, there were other sources that were part of it. So it's a partnership, which is really special. Probably the relationship and the partnerships maybe even worth more than the financial contribution in itself. And the other, it escapes me now. Oh, yeah, another thing that was like really interesting here is that these are some pretty incredible ideas, frankly, for very limited amounts of money. So you can do very special things. It doesn't have to cost tens or hundreds or millions of dollars. I mean, you can do some pretty neat stuff for a few hundred, couple $1,000, you know, and that's a demonstration of this.
Yeah, I think Dan brings a good point. The majority of the requests were not seeking for fully publicly funded programs or events or activations. So there was a lot of private funding or just generosity out of their own kind of willingness to do this, just to have a little bit to help it happen.
Very cool. Thank you.
Mr.
Any
Chair?
other questions? Oh, Deb?
First of all, I want to say I think this is great, and I'm so excited to see it coming forward, and it's just going to, again, add to the, you know, the wonderfulness that we have growing in downtown. The one thing I was wondering in the future, just in terms of ways we might expand it, have we thought about doing something that might more specifically, what I'm thinking is, could we consider doing something that would more narrowly look at things that might represent some of our minoritized communities in terms of their culture and history? And, you know, it's one of those things as we're working at creating a community that, you know, that really represents our whole, you know, where these things really represent our whole community and where people see this as a place where they're welcome and they're a part of the community. Sometimes if you haven't ever seen that before, if you haven't seen your culture represented, it's not even necessarily on the radar, even though we clearly had a very open, you know, we had an open process. So I'm wondering if that might be something we could consider in the future, just to really kind of light that spark and get some things out there that would really, you know, hopefully like stir that so that people see like, hey, this really is a place where we want to have things that represent all of our community. So.
I think it's a great point. I think this year we kept it very open and very general, just to see what happens, see what kind of input and you know, applications we receive. I think we can get narrower. I think we can learn from what came in this year and try to meet some very specific goals if we have them, or set aside certain amount of funds that look at that specific kind of idea that you're describing as well. The other thing Amy had just wanted to share too, a portion of the funds that's not in here but was already kind of approved is the music in the market. So having music at our farmers market was one that was already kind of allocated as a part of the budget too.
Anyone else? Okay. Moving on to Number 8, Makara Industrial Park update. Eric again.
Yeah, I just wanted to let folks know, Amy and I have been very busy with our industrial park, which is a good thing. I think we've had probably several inquiries of property within our industrial park right now. We've had 2 official offers that are public at this point in time. We have some others that are still in the works with City Council. One is for Four Seasons Handyman, which is a local Moorhead business looking to expand their business. 12,000 square feet on a 1.5 acre site. Great individual that we're just, again, eager to help serve and kind of watch grow within our community. The other one is KR Investments Holding. It's a business that's actually already under construction on the north end of town. They do storage for RVs, boats, food trucks, contractors, you name it. They came in a couple years back. They took 6 acres along the interstate and have pretty much had so much inquiries that they're fully leased out and looking to expand to the south of our park. So they're looking at an 11-acre lot to the south of the park that they'll see a significant expansion to some of that use down there. We've also had, as a part of just the accelerated growth that we've seen in the industrial park, we really don't have many lots left. If everything goes as planned, we'll really only have 2 rail lots left at this point in time. That being said, we have been working on an expansion to the industrial park to the southeast, and specifically looking at a roadway extension on 34th Avenue South going eastward. That would open up about 6 to 8 different lots in that area, about 1 to 2 acres in size at this point in time. They could be consolidated if need be. What's kind of amazing is even before we've had a chance to really advertise this, that Four Seasons Handyman, because they had some services already off the north-south street there, they actually were the first ones to acquire a property within that new plat. And we have another one that's looking to do that right away here as well. But we are excited that we got a phone call from the Minnesota Department of Deed that I think some funding became available for that roadway extension. So Amy's been working very hard with our engineering team to process a potential $2 million grant to see that roadway extension happen, and potentially even happen with some utilities going in this summer or late fall. So we're excited to kind of continue to offer up some high quality, I think, reasonably priced, but priced to really watch our community grow, but serve an industrial market that is exploding across our region right now. So lots of great things happening there, but it's certainly taking a lot of work on our end with just the due diligence of purchase agreements to Makara reviews, which we'll have that coming up in the near future as well, and just trying to get these projects across the finish line. But like I said, the really great thing is a majority of these folks are existing Moorhead businesses that are expanding, or ones that, like Mega Storage, for example, that are under construction and already see the demand being so high that they want to expand fully as well. So I think that's a testament to what we're doing here and what we can continue to offer here in Moorhead. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
No questions. Oh, Dan.
I can't help but make the phenomenally important point about how important it is to increase our commercial industrial tax base with and for residents in Moorhead. I think currently we sit right around 15% of the tax base is industrial. That should look something closer to 30%, and then that burden on the residential property owners will lower as well. So appreciate the effort to keep that moving forward and accelerating it.
I think it's been great. We've had a much more diligent focus on how we activate and how we kind of market those sites. This was, I think, the second year that we've had property resource groups under contract to really kind of be the ones marketing that area. And we did it twofold. I know there was some conversations early on. Was that really necessary to bring an outside party to kind of go through the city kind of marketing aspect of the Makara Industrial Park? But it's really twofold. One, these folks do it on a daily basis. They're professionals. That's their job, and it's hard for Amy and I or Dan or anyone really in the city to really dedicate fully to marketing those sites. And then secondly, to get our commercial real estate folks, commercial industrial real estate brokers and real estate agents, understanding of what our programs and policies are here, and not only Moorhead, but Clay County and through the state of Minnesota as well. So I think we've educated the property resource groups as well as others that have now submitted on behalf of clients. And we're looking forward to kind of continuing to serve that education more than anything. That contract with PRG is up at the end of the year, but I think we will open it up just to see what comes in, to be stewards of kind of the public realm there. But I know Property Resource Group has done a great job in representing us in the growth that we're seeing.
That's great. Yeah, it's exciting to see what's happening there. Much appreciated. All right, moving on to number 9, Economic Development Incentive Subcommittee.
Yeah, I'll maybe just give a couple quick updates, but I'd love if Deb or James or Chad would like to add on to this as well. So kind of where we're at and kind of where we're going, we felt that it was important to take a look at our incentives, specifically a couple of them: our Renaissance Zone, our commercial industrial property tax incentive, and our multifamily property tax incentive as well. So we've held a number of meetings, and thanks to our committee, who has been extremely flexible in meeting on a quick turnaround to really get into the weeds of what we're trying to accomplish. So we've had May 10th and May 16th were really our kind of meat and potatoes meetings that we had with everyone. We're looking at that Renaissance Zone to reevaluate our boundary of where the Renaissance Zone boundary should be, as well as our minimum investment thresholds. So we are close to having that table completed. Our commercial industrial incentive, we are reevaluating our new building value amounts. So this incentive is based on new taxable value. Again, we've brought this up before, but investments and new taxable value has changed dramatically over not only just the last probably 8 to 12 months, but certainly over the last 4 years when we established some of these numbers. And then also our multifamily, looking at the value of our exemption right now, and having some really good, I think, robust conversations about affordable housing too. So we are getting closer to wrapping that kind of all up. Our hope is to meet as a task force here again relatively soon, probably right after the 4th of July, but bring back that proposal to the EDA on August 1st, and then City Council will have to approve that as well. But I don't know if Deb or James or Chad would like to speak about our process and just takeaways that you've had so far.
Yeah, first of all, I think it's something that in the future we should just continue to do this, because you can see that, you know, things are changing rapidly. I know one part of the discussion was even looking at some of the areas where the 2021 underpass will be open, and it's hard to say right now exactly what will happen in that area. We've got the big project happening at the high school. We've got the new underpass. And so, it would be good to sort of look back in a little while and see if there's other things that we could be doing to incentivize, or we don't know, maybe that area will really take off on its own too. The other thing I'll mention is it was great to kind of get in the weeds in our discussion of some of the things. Like one thing that came up is looking at how we might create better incentives for affordable housing. And so, but when I think the takeaway from that conversation, and it was kind of following up from some of the things that we had talked about at council with the Silver Linings Project, is that rather than rush into something and do something that's well intended but not necessarily that effective, that it'd be better to even just take some time. So we talked about meeting with Dawn Bacon who directs our public housing, and really look at what we might do that could be useful. But it was a really worthwhile conversation just to think through some of the complexities of that, and I think look for something that really could be beneficial rather than looking for something that feels good but not necessarily going to really meet the needs that we want it to. So I thought it was a great process.
Okay, anyone else?
I'll just echo that and kind of say, it starts with with our little group, but then I know Derek and Amy have discussed going and talking with some of the developers that have been key to redeveloping pieces of downtown Moorhead already, to make sure, you know, we're sitting in these chairs, they're really doing some of the hard work. We don't, for lack of a better term, screw something up and maybe remove something they really like, or but I thought that's a good value add too, to really get some outside investor input from some of the key individuals that have really kind of helped reestablish Moorhead and is starting to propel us into that 21st century goal. So.
All right, thank you guys. The next part of this is, I believe, Amy, updating the Enterprise Zone program.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. So the Enterprise Zone, as you're aware, is a long-standing program, and maybe for some of you that are new, maybe don't know, but it's been around for a number of years, and we do have an ongoing and annual appropriation to our fund, thanks to some work that was done a few years ago. So in the report, I've given you a basic update of the account balance, but what we really want to talk about and focus on today is our support of businesses and really the one and only program that we have to support our ongoing businesses in Moorhead, which is the Workers' Comp Rebate Program. This program rebates a portion of workers' comp to businesses on a percentage basis, and today we're asking you to review that percentage. I'm recommending that we keep it at the same percentage and just move forward with that at the 25% rate, $30,000 cap. And secondly, the other exciting thing I would really love to talk to you about is that this year, for the first time, we are going to be moving into an online application system. I was speaking with my counterpart at the Department of Employment and Economic Development, and he could not believe how many applications we process manually each year, and gave a recommendation to use I'll call it a startup. It's a pretty new company who's developing this online application process for us, and they're doing it at an extremely reasonable rate. And I am exceptionally excited to be working in this realm now. So in the next, I've seen the prototype. In the next couple weeks, I'm going to see what's going to be closer to the final application, and then we are going to be releasing that to our businesses to test it, I guess, this year. So I'm extremely excited about that. With that, I would be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Amy, just to be clear, so is this is funded from EDA budget?
No, not at all. Our Enterprise Zone Fund is completely separate from that, but as the economic development professionals, and we're looking for your support of this to recommend to the City Council.
Okay, and the 25% with the 30,000 cap, that's what we've done previously or recommended previously, what we're currently doing, and so we're just looking to maintain that?
Yep, that's correct.
Okay. And are you looking for a motion today from us as well?
I believe, was it 15% and it was increased to 25? What's the history of this?
Well, the history has went up and down with the account balance. Recently, we've been at that 25% since we've had an ongoing appropriation. Previous to that, it had gone up and down based on whether or not we had gotten an appropriation that year or not. So it's been, it had fluctuated previously.
So, Amy, how long has it been at 25% then?
At least 3 years, I'd say. Previous to that, I think it was like at 20%. And we can certainly move it up or down. My reasoning for keeping it at the same amount this year is because I feel that with the online application, we would be able to better market to our current businesses and hopefully capture some of those businesses that haven't participated in the past, that they would be jumping on board, and just naturally we would be expanding the amount that we will be helping businesses just by helping more businesses.
And if I can add to, with the help of all of you, Sherry and her team, and just getting the word out to folks, we've seen the number of applicants continue to rise year after year as well. So you can see that $400,000 line item that's put in there. We do have the appropriation of about $525,000. So we expect that number will continue to rise based on new business growth that we have, as well as just more understanding of the program and more efficiencies to apply as well.
For the benefit of all of us here as well as the public, can you speak a little bit to maybe the number of businesses that in Moorhead that have taken advantage of this, that have utilized this, and also kind of bigger picture how this really benefits the city of Moorhead specifically and the local businesses we have here, I think that are competing against the ones across the river?
Sure. So in previous years, we've sent out around 200 applications in the mail. And we complete, we end up getting back about 150, but completing about 130 applications. So there are some steps to proving the amount of money that you've spent for the workers' comp. So sometimes we're not able to quite cross the finish line with each and every business. What was the second part of the question? Yeah, so in general, it's a rebate of their actual workers' compensation expense. And the reason for that is to basically, in the state of North Dakota, they have their own workers' compensation insurance company. And in Minnesota, we do not. And so in order to level that playing field, we have found that by giving a rebate to that amount that we are leveling the playing field quite a bit, and especially in a number of different types of businesses where they have extremely high costs in that field, in that realm.
Yeah, thanks, Amy. I think it's a tremendous program that really helps to attract the businesses that we need and want here in Moorhead, especially when they're looking at sites on both sides of the river potentially.
Just in case, because I know the question came up about where the funding is, in case people don't know. So we're one of, 5 communities in the state that receive this, and it's, again, to create equity between, when you have these border communities. But in the past, this is what you alluded to also. The legislation used to sunset, and was it 2 legislative sessions ago? They, made it so it would continue. And so it's nice that we now have that reliability, and that's why we could have it at a higher level. It used to be we didn't know when the money would go away, and so now we know we have that, we can rely on it, at least unless they change the laws, but it's much more stable than it was in the past.
We're looking for a motion from this group to recommend to City Council.
Yes, that would be great. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to recommend to City Council approval of a 25% credit of workers' comp expense with a $30,000 cap for 2022.
And Cusa will second.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? The motion carries. And number 10, Economic Development Report from Derek.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm going to just touch base quickly on a couple, then I would maybe ask if Cusa and James would maybe speak to their experience with the Minnesota Young American Leadership Program. So, but a couple things worth noting. One that I'm going to add right away here before I forget. Tomorrow at the Yumcomb Center from 4 to 6, the Minnesota DOT is holding an open house for the 11th Street underpass. So trying to gather some public input on that. That would be the future underpass at 11th Street as well. So please show up or spread the word as best you can. The DOT is the one kind of leading this, so we're just trying to spread the word as best we can to make sure we got a good turnout and people are engaging with a project that is quite substantial in Moorhead as well. So please spread that word. We have some updates on the Community Center Regional Library. We had 2 listening sessions in April. That group is transitioning to a yes committee, but working with JLG, the library, Friends of the Library group, and others. But the mayor's been, I think, very diligent with trying to get this project across the finish line. I think there's some exciting cohesion that could go with Moorhead Center Mall redevelopment as well. So continues to kind of get, hear from the public on updates on that Community Center Regional Library. The mall stuff, we are getting closer to creating that vision. We have some meetings coming up here soon, working with those remaining condo owners as well as some of the tenants within the mall, but excited to kind of share those plans in the near future. With that, Center Avenue is under construction as well. That was a big piece of just starting the redevelopment and kind of creating an environment for a much more urban feel. We have heard from a couple of our local businesses, so I'll just say remember to support our businesses as best we can in times of construction. I think even though we all did, I think, a great job through COVID, I think anything we can do during those construction seasons to help those businesses out, the better. So if you got any work meetings or work lunches set up, maybe check out a few restaurants by the Moorhead Center Mall as well. And then before I do the Minnesota Young American Leadership one, we did recently get some news that Concordia's School of Business, the Offutt School of Business, was not going to submit a proposal to keep the West Central Small Business Development Center on campus. There are a variety of different reasons, I think, for that kind of decision, but we are looking to keep the SBDC in Moorhead any way we can. Dan Molly and I, as well as many others, have been having some conversations. I believe M-State is actually going to be submitting a proposal for that. Again, they can go anywhere within that West Central territory, so as far down to Alexandria to here, but they are a great resource for kind of small business needs as well as startup resources. So we are hopeful that M-State will have success in locking that down, but we may have to get creative with some of the matching funding and other things just to support them any way we can. Lastly, too, I think it's just worth noting, again, as we talked about some of the industrial park expansion, we have another application for our commercial industrial property tax incentive for tonight at City Council for Pinnacle and Sandman on 30th Avenue, and they have a substantial office expansion happening on site as well. So again, just another Moorhead business that's looking to grow from within our community, so excited to help process any way we can. Then lastly, I'll just say I was able to kind of assist, as well as Sherry and others, on selecting a group of 8 individuals from Fargo-Moorhead to represent this area at the Minnesota Young American Leadership Program. Cusa and James were 2 of the 8 that went. Is at the University of Minnesota, and Harvard School of Business is brought in to really kind of get into some in-depth, challenging conversations and topics. But if Alex and James, you want to speak on your experience?
Yeah, I really enjoyed spending the couple days there. It was a really unique opportunity to meet and network with kind of fellow young leaders across the state of Minnesota and get some different perspectives on some different things going on around the state. Really neat about the program were we had professors and experts who were doing research themselves and providing case studies for different examples of cross-sector collaboration. So for an example, a school district working with a city to get families connectivity during COVID, right? And being able to do school from home more effectively is one example. And it was just really kind of eye-opening and just a good reminder that, a lot of times government is very, we've got rules and procedures and standard way of doing things, but there are opportunities to kind of think outside the box. And I was really grateful when we were going through these case studies, because I was thinking about our community and from the city level to the school district and across all over Moorhead and surrounding area. And I really felt like we could very easily be one of those case studies in a lot of things that we do, and we've got the right people in the place to make things like that happen. So that got me very excited, because I don't think that's the case everywhere. So just another reason to be really grateful to live here in Moorhead. We also were updated on the status of the Minnesota economy, the national economy. So that was very interesting and always kind of eye-opening, and I love hearing economists talk about those types of things because I'm a little bit of a numbers person, so always very interesting. So I just really appreciate the committee sending us and being able to be a part of that, and certainly if there's opportunity in the future for local leaders to be a part of that, I would highly encourage them to apply and go if able. So.
Yeah, to add to this, it was just phenomenal as well to have been in 2019 in the committee that selected people to go represent the Valley, and Derek was one of them. So now kind of the circle of life, being now part of this group. The one thing I'll say, I always remember Dan saying on how we're the second metro, thing that we don't always think about. So it was nice to meet other people as well from Rochester, Mankato, St. Cloud, us, and then the Twin Cities, of course. So it's just, number one, we're not the only one going through some of the growing pains we are here in the FM area. So that was a good way to realize, okay, because sometimes us being in our bubble, we think maybe we're the only one losing people to the Twin Cities, where St. Cloud, Mankato, Rochester maybe not as much, but like Mankato and Duluth for sure. So that was interesting to see this. And then with the Duluth people, for instance, being kind of neighboring community like Wisconsin, us is North Dakota. So that was always nice. So comparing notes, that was a really good thing. Seeing as well how people are solving some community challenges in their own way was good to see. Hey, that could be something maybe we can replicate. And I really, from our cohort perspective, because it was really nice to see different sectors. We had people from architecture firm, the Moorhead High Academy, of course, James, myself. So it was so nice to us being like, oh, I don't see you every day. Like, oh, it would be good to continue when we're back in our valley. So it was nice to kind of end up with somewhat of collaboration. Some stayed in their respective cohort. I was among those that branched out, but I ended up having a couple people from the FM area, and it was really interesting to see how, and I'm in my group at least, was still kind of going on with this potential community project. So that's super exciting to stay in touch with these people. But the other thing was really finishing up that retreat with the mayor of St. Paul. So the first African American elected mayor, but him coming from really a strong servant leadership family background. I think one of his parents has been a police officer, the mom. So it was phenomenal to connect with are so concrete leaders, people that are doing amazing work. There was also one thing that stood out for me was we had medical doctors come and talk about how the health industry and race, and how it's always interesting to think about service providers sharing that lived experience versus just intellectual experience sometimes. So thinking about how us as well here with Sanford and Essentia and all the different service healthcare providers we have in the community, how it got me thinking, oh, that could be something interesting to maybe invite them as well, because they were from the U of M, and I always told them that they bring some kind of authority. If some of us just go and talk to some healthcare providers about what they should do better, maybe doesn't carry as much weight as U of M folks coming and say, hey, this has worked in the Twin Cities, and we think this could be something you should emulate. But as well, honestly, meeting with alumni, and Derek was one of them. There was a couple of dinners where we just meet with other leaders, and it was really nice to see once again kind of what's the after being part of such a cohort, because it's good to come for a couple of days, rethink a better tomorrow, and then go back in our routine. So it was nice to see what others have done, and also be okay to say, hey, maybe you're just going to live here and go back in your routine, but at least you've been inspired for a couple of days, and at least you've seen that there's a bigger community, which is the state of Minnesota, and we can all be together. But I was so glad that James and the other cohort, we proudly, and I'm pretty sure Cher would be happy, we proudly waved our, 56560 flag, and as well, obviously, the Fargo side as well. But it was really nice to, one thing I'll say, just a quick marketing note, and maybe Sherry will like it, was the St. Cloud people came with like was it like a St. Cloud t-shirt or something, like they all were wearing like a, yay St. Cloud, and we were curious, like, how come, y'all are all, you have some kind of uniform, and they said, well, before we left, I don't know the equivalent in St. Cloud, was it?
It was the Greater St. Cloud Development
some kind of a,
Yep.
that invited them and said, hey, rah, 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 St. Cloud, and then say, hey, would y'all mind wearing that t-shirt at least one of the days? And so our cohort and our fellow Valley folks here of the Red River Valley, something to consider maybe for the future, to have some kind of little, more than a pin, it was a nice, like, St. Cloud something. I was like, wow, note to self, so.
For sure. No, and I really appreciate the two of you going and the others that represented us. And Dan and I talk about this quite a bit. It's we have such a great story to share here, and I think a lot of times it's easy to get access to, whether it's to state events through the state of North Dakota or local chamber events that are very much regionally dominated, which I think is important relationships as well. But it is a little bit more difficult to get towards the Twin Cities or some of these state of Minnesota events. And anytime we have a chance to do it, I think it's only going to help our cause legislatively, politically, funding-wise, you name it. So I just think we have a great group of folks in this area that can have a lot to give.
Hey, any other comments? I think that just about wraps us up. So this meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.